On the Isles of Scilly, the long, isolated months of winter are at last coming to an end. But this year, as the new season fast approaches, there's growing nervousness amongst the islanders about the future of the tourist industry on which everyone utterly depends. With the rest of the country facing recession, earning a living on this remote place could soon be tougher than ever.
Our eggs are all in one basket, really. And like any economy that's dependent on, one thing, we are at risk.
For the island's minister, the Reverend David Easton, it's personally going to be a tough year ahead too. In a few months' time, his congregation will be deciding on whether he should stay on Scilly or leave. And the islands prepare themselves for the biggest event in a generation as 4 Scilly boys prepare to row 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. For friends, families and loved ones left at home, there's a difficult time ahead.
We do know the ocean. It's a big force to contend with. When he told me first he was going to do it, I said, you've got to be mad. But then I said, OK, if you want to go, good luck.
It's a rather nice feeling, isn't it, that the days are getting longer and those endless winter months, maybe, just maybe, are starting to come to an end at long last. I've definitely noticed a whiff of spring in the air, so let's hope for all our sakes there's a really good summer season up ahead for all of us. What with the credit crunch...
Since last autumn, life on the Isles of Scilly has been dormant. But now, at last, there are welcome signs of renewal and activity. At the tourist centre on the main island of St Mary's, 2 people on whom the economy of this remote community relies are planning a crucial upcoming event.
As well.
You're taking enough flowers to last the whole of the exhibition, because what is it, 4 days?
It's 4 days exhibition.
Sophie Hughes is being briefed by tourist chief Steve Watt on her forthcoming trip to London to wave the flag for Scilly at a huge international travel exhibition. Her mission is vital for the success of the summer season ahead.
And also here.
So the chocolates are there, presumably you'll be over that side.
What's the object of going all this way? Because it's a long trip, isn't it?
It is a long trip, but it's a worthwhile trip. It's basically to take Scilly to London, really, to use London as our shop window and advertise the islands. That's our purpose, really.
Because, Steve, without tourism, these islands die, don't they?
Well, it'd be very difficult to survive because it provides about 85% of our economy. So, tourism is the bedrock of our economy to keep us going.
I used to come to Scilly as a child, and I love living here. It's a dream come true for me, and I really it's the sort of job where you love going to work on a Monday morning, and to be able to go to London and to take all that sort of love for Scilly to London is a great opportunity, and I can't wait.
Later, Sophie sets off on the long journey to London. Once on the mainland, she'll load up a hire van with equipment and head straight to the Earl's Court Exhibition Centre, where one of Britain's biggest travel shows is about to open. A 15-minute boat trip to the northwest of St Mary's lies the smallest of the Scilly Islands, Briar. For most of its history, the only way in and out of this isolated place at very low tides has been to get wet. Then, 18 years ago, everything changed. Just inland from the eastern shore of Briar, you'll find the home of Islander Marion Bennett. She lives here with her daughter Charlie. Sister, Auntie Chris, lives next door.
Hello there and welcome to another challenge. This week we've come to the Scilly Islands.
In 1990, Marion wrote to the hugely popular BBC television show Challenge Annika to ask if presenter Annika Rice and her team of builders and engineers would construct a new long quay which could be used when the tide dropped.
We have tried for many years to get the quay built. And
Oh my God, look at your
shed
window. I know, isn't it funny?
I didn't know what I was starting when I met her for the first
like
time.
a good idea at
Oh,
the time.
yes.
So as a result of your call, the whole Challenge Annika team came down and built the quay.
Yes.
What did you think when you saw it all happening before your very eyes?
Well, I thought it was wonderful.
The result, a temporary wooden quay that was erected in just days, was pretty spectacular.
Oh, that's wonderful. Charlie Bennett! It's a lovely dress. Oh, it was so emotional.
Yes, it was.
And that quay held up for 17, 18 years.
Here's to the future of the jetty!
But now Annika's and all the other old quays on the smaller islands are being updated. A renovation scheme is underway to make them fit for the 21st century.
And I'll meet you when you land on Briar.
It's a project Marion's becoming rather more involved in than she'd expected.
OK, yeah, that's lovely, yeah. Really looking forward to seeing you. Lots of love. Bye for now, bye.
The Isles of Scilly has 2 resident clergy. Church of England vicar Guy Scott, very much the new boy and still settling in, and the Methodist minister David Easton, who's been here for some years but has recently started to play a much higher profile role in island life. David lives alone in a small flat in Hughtown and spends most of his waking hours serving the people of England's remotest parish.
Good.
Lovely.
How are you today? All right?
Yes, okay, thanks.
Good.
It's still very early in the year, but already a few hardy visitors have started to arrive on the island. David, like almost everyone else here, pitches in to help.
That came out here and the South Isle. They were built, the North Isle in 1862 and the other one in 1877. Anyway, let's go in and look in the church now. These souls have had their quiet look around.
David knows only too well how much the islands are at the mercy of global economic pressures. The islands are quite vulnerable, aren't they? But it wouldn't take much, would it, to put the economy into a real spin here? I mean, the aviation fuel went up hugely, or if there's a massive recession on the mainland, all these would have drastic repercussions, wouldn't they?
Well, yes, they would. I mean, if tourism were badly hit, yes, it would. I mean, not just, I guess, on Scilly, but I mean, Cornwall and other places as well. But yes, particularly here, because there are the extra costs of getting here. Yeah, if there was a major turn down in tourism, it would hit us quite badly.
So you have to really live day by day, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a sense in which you need to, I wouldn't say eat, drink and be merry, because tomorrow you may die, but yeah, enjoy, we need to enjoy these while we can. I mean, we may be the privileged generation. The generations to come after us may really be struggling on these islands and elsewhere.
At Earl's Court in London, final preparations are underway for the opening of the big international travel show. Sophie's arriving after her 300-mile journey from St Mary's and doesn't have much time to set up her Isles of Scilly stand.
Are they all right? Have they travelled well?
Yeah, they've travelled really well, actually.
Sophie's is one of the smallest stands in the huge Earl's Court auditorium, which soon will be filled with travel operators examining the competition and punters looking for cheap bargains. Holidays are often the first luxury to suffer when people's budgets are stretched. And it can be as expensive to get to the Isles of Scilly as much warmer and more exotic destinations. Sophie, nonetheless, is optimistic. You're up against stiff competition here, aren't you? You've got South America, Africa, Asia, little Isles of Scilly here.
Absolutely, we're up against the, we're like David and Goliath, really. But, we're a fabulous location ourselves, and, I think we can contend with any of these destinations. We've got deserted beaches, and you certainly might not find those in some of these places. And, we've just got some absolutely wow factor scenery, and, we're looking forward to promoting it to the best we can.
So tomorrow morning, key moment then when the doors open?
Well, absolutely. It all hangs on who's outside, really. It is our one opportunity to come and show our wares to the southeast of England.
Some months ago, a very unusual-looking piece of cargo arrived on the main quay at St Mary's on the Selonian ferry. This turned out to be a specially designed transatlantic rowing boat, and its arrival prompted the start of what the islanders believe could be one of the most dramatic adventures in the island's long seafaring history.
The countdown's really started now, hasn't it, for the Scilly boys and their preparations for the mammoth row from New York to the Bishop Rock Lighthouse here in Scilly.
Now adapted and repainted, 4 island men have spent months in this little rowing boat training to race, unaccompanied, direct from New York to Scilly, something that's never been successfully completed before. If they can survive the perils and dangers and cross the finishing line unaided, it'll prompt the biggest celebration on Scilly for years. All of them are giving up months of their lives. Youngest is 19-year-old Joby, a fisherman from Tresco, who'll be using his skills with a line to catch food. More used to high-speed trips between the islands on the specially designed Scilly ambulance boat is paramedic Wayne, an expert in emergency and life-saving techniques. Tim has just graduated in sports science and knows all about specialist diets and maintaining energy levels. The oldest in the crew is Chris Jenkins. He's given up his job as a marine engineer to prepare the boat, appropriately named the Scilly Boys.
So 24 hours of constant rowing?
No, it's you row for 2 hours, rest for 2 hours, row for 2 hours, rest for 2 hours, and just rely on your 90 minutes sleep in between.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
I'm sure you've done something stupid before, haven't you?
I don't think I've quite done anything so strenuous, though. What are some of the dangers you might face?
Well, I mean, people talk about whales and sharks and all the rest of it, but I mean, I think if we leave them alone, they'll probably leave us alone. I think the biggest dangers are the big 20 or 30,000 ton ones with perhaps somebody not watching the radar or listening to the radio. So, yeah, I think shipping is probably going to be the biggest danger. And, of course, weather. But we can prepare as best we can for the weather and just ride it out.
And why are you doing it?
I've been asked that so many times. I don't know which answer do you want, really. Could be midlife crisis, could be pub talk, could be 101 things. But you just got to... You can either talk about it or you can get on and do it, can't you? So we're getting on and doing it.
But unlike his 3 rowing companions, Chris has a young family. His ex-wife Sarah knows the row across the Atlantic will have a big effect on all their lives.
The general sort of consensus is, you know, it's a pretty major thing they're doing and there's a lot of support for them. I think quite a lot of people think they're absolutely barking mad, but there is a general, you know, good sense of, for them to do well and succeed.
At Earl's Court in London, it's a cold and damp launch to the big travel show. Inside, things get off to a disappointingly slow start. The indefatigable Sophie, though, is not downhearted.
It's quite quiet to start with, but it will be busying up, I'm sure. It'll be, you know, there's more people come through the door, people will come straight down this aisle and come to the stands.
Why is it quiet now?
Just because it's the start of the show, it's the first day, it's a weekday as well, so, you know, it will busy up, I'm certain of that.
So you're fairly confident, are you?
Yes. Yes, I am.
But in fact, as the weekend progresses, business doesn't pick up anywhere near as much as the organisers had hoped. In recent years, there's been a huge annual increase in the number of visitors to the show, but not this time. And many of those expressing an interest are holding off making firm bookings. The summer ahead could be even harder than they'd thought. And all this at a time when Sophie has other, quite important issues on her mind. Back on Scilly, and 1 or 2 visitors are starting to join the small congregations that regularly attend David's chapel through the winter.
And you'll notice on there that there's coffee and refreshments served after the service this morning. And if you go through the door behind me and turn left, you're very welcome to join us.
Beautiful service, lovely opening prayers, and a splendid sermon.
Oh, thank you very much.
The islanders themselves are beginning to emerge from their long hibernation. Over on the most northerly island, St Martin's, Toby's dusted down his bakery and has started to open up for business on a daily basis.
Thank you very much. And again, there's some serviettes here you probably need for the roll.
Those long winter months have given him much time for idle thought and indulging in a particular fantasy which has been haunting his dreams.
Well, once a year I get a blinding yearning to have an authentic Indian curry. You know, being out here, we are quite remote and you know, we do miss various things and that is one thing I do miss from the mainland. When I used to live on the mainland 16 years ago, I used to go out and have a curry so once every week or 2 weeks or so and it became a bit of a ritual and you know, I do miss it here, so that it would be really nice just to have a full-blown Indian meal with the naan breads and the pilau rice and tarka dal. I love tarka dal and some chicken tikka masala I think I've got.
So you can't buy any of these things on Scilly?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because you think this is such a wonderful place to live and yet you forget these sort of basic things that everybody else in England takes for granted.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, I mean, we have fantastic local food here, really great local food, you know, and for the majority of the year, that's wonderful, you know, the fish, the vegetables, the meats here are wonderful. But in the back of your brain there's this little worm going away saying, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have a curry?
Toby has an emergency procedure for when his craving for curry becomes overwhelming. And this morning, he's decided to press the go button.
Oh, hi there. Is that Taj Mahal? Fantastic. Would it be possible to order a curry, please?
In recent months, a very unusual ship for these waters has been busy plying its trade between the islands. This is a converted military landing craft that's being used to carry thousands of tons of stone, concrete and cement for one of the biggest developments in recent years. The £2 million scheme to update all the old quays is nearing completion. It's been funded by Prince Charles and his Duchy of Cornwall, which owns the islands. And amongst the first to be completed is a spanking new Anarcha's Quay. Marion's delighted.
People forget how important these quays are to your island way of life.
Well, the whole of the transport system of the boats and the quays is absolutely vital to the economics and the social life of the islands. You know, without the quays, the islands really wouldn't function. And visitors, you know, which are our lifeblood in terms of income, wouldn't be able to come and go.
So it's a big thing. Are you going to have an opening?
We are. We're going to have a bonfire and fireworks and lots to eat and drink and make merry, and we shall celebrate it in true style.
Because in the middle of winter here on Scilly, you need something to celebrate, don't you?
We do, and we do look for any opportunity, really, yes, to put out the stops, yes.
Marion's also secured the services of a surprise guest to officially open the new quay.
Can't see her yet.
Since the original television programme was transmitted, Marion and her family have kept in contact with presenter Annika Rice.
Hello, my darling.
And she's being held to a long-standing promise to do the honours at the upcoming reopening ceremony. "30 miles across the water on the mainland tip of England, in Penzance, they're well used to the curious cravings of Ceylonians. At a curry joint in the centre of town, a well-oiled delivery system is swinging effortlessly into action. They know Toby's tastes well here, and the order he phoned over from St Martin's is now being efficiently and meticulously prepared. It's loaded into a specially hermetically sealed unit to keep it piping hot. Then it's straight down to the Penzance heliport and the start of its epic journey west. Safely landed on the main island of St Mary's, Toby's mate Dell, the taxi driver, picks the curry up and hurries it down to the quay. There, Dave the boatman's offered to drop the precious cargo off to Toby on his way home.
There you are.
Since this is a luxury which only happens every 12 months, Toby's determined to savour the moment. In order to survive financially in this remote place miles out in the Atlantic Ocean, the islanders need ingenuity and a constant flow of novel ideas. The exquisite taste of his fresh chicken tikka and saag with pilau rice and taka dal has set Toby's mind thinking. Back in her office after all the stress of her London trip, Sophie and the team at the Island Tourist Office must now wait to see how well her labours translate into definite holiday bookings.
Sleep on the floor somewhere.
Don't worry, we've got plenty of space at the moment.
Sophie works 7 days a week in the season and often in the evenings too. Her spare time is now dominated by another forthcoming event which is sure to be big in the islanders' calendar.
I am getting married.
And where's it going to be?
It's going to be on St Agnes.
That's one of the smaller islands, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Wouldn't it be easier just to have it on the main island here on St Mary's?
It would, but I don't want to do easy. I want an adventure.